For 7 decades, Clint Eastwood has been Hollywood's ultimate silent warrior, the man with no name who became one of cinema's most iconic faces. The director who revolutionized filmmaking with his no-nonsense approach, the legend who built an empire on discipline, efficiency, and an almost supernatural ability to cut through nonsense with a single glance. But at 95 years old, the stories behind Clint Eastwood's legendary silence are finally coming to light. Not through his own words, but through decades of industry insiders, crew members, and Hollywood gossip revealing the truth about 6 celebrities who violated his code, wasted his time, and earned a place on his permanent blacklist. These aren't petty Hollywood feuds or tabloid drama. These are professional conflicts that cross lines Eastwood holds sacred. Once you hear what these 6 stars did, you'll understand why Clint never forgave, never forgot, and never looked back. This is the story Hollywood doesn't want you to know. Before we reveal the 6 names on Clint's blacklist, you need to understand what matters to him. Eastwood didn't build a legendary career by accident. He built it on principles so rigid, they've become mythical in Hollywood. First, efficiency is sacred. Clint famously shoots 1 or 2 takes maximum. If you can't deliver authentic emotion the first time, he doesn't believe you'll find it in take 15. To him, overthinking destroys instinct, and instinct is where truth lives. Second, professionalism is non-negotiable. Show up on time, know your lines, do your job. The set isn't therapy, it's not a social club, and it's definitely not a place for ego or drama. Third, respect the work and respect the people doing it. Whether you're the lead actor or a grip carrying cables, everyone deserves dignity. Mock the craft or the people who serve it, and you're done. Fourth, say what you mean what you say, and when you're finished talking, be quiet. Eastwood's silence isn't passive. It's the most active weapon in his arsenal. These aren't just preferences. They're the foundation of everything Eastwood has built, and the 6 people we're about to discuss violated these principles so profoundly that they earned permanent exile from his world. Number 6. Leonardo DiCaprio. Let's start with one of Hollywood's most celebrated actors. Leonardo DiCaprio. When Leo joined Eastwood's 2011 biographical drama J. Edgar, everyone expected magic. What they got instead was a masterclass in how to drive Clint Eastwood absolutely crazy. From the first day of production on J. Edgar, DiCaprio arrived with binders full of research, historical documents, and pages of notes about J. Edgar Hoover's psychological motivations. Eastwood, who believes preparation happens before you step on set, watched with growing frustration as DiCaprio turned every scene into a historical seminar. The breaking point came during an emotional breakdown scene. DiCaprio delivered a phenomenal performance in the first take. Powerful, authentic, exactly what the scene required. Eastwood called cut and prepared to move on. But Leo wanted another take, then another, then another. By the 6th attempt to recapture something that had been perfect the first time, Eastwood wasn't even behind the camera anymore. He was standing at the craft services table, coffee in hand, stone-faced, watching DiCaprio chase ghosts. According to crew members present, someone approached Eastwood quietly and asked if everything was okay. His response became legendary on set. "He's still looking for something I already found 5 takes ago." When J. Edgar wrapped, there was no dramatic confrontation, no shouting match. There was just Eastwood's signature silence. And that silence spoke volumes. In every casting meeting after that project, whenever DiCaprio's name came up for potential roles, Eastwood would simply shake his head. "Brilliant talent," he'd acknowledge according to insiders, "but not for me." They've never worked together since. They've never shared a stage at an award ceremony. They've never exchanged words publicly. DiCaprio went on to win his long-awaited Oscar for The Revenant, but never received another call from Eastwood. Because in Eastwood's world, perfection isn't about doing something until you're exhausted. It's about recognizing perfection when it happens and having the wisdom not to destroy it by overthinking. Number 5. Michael Moore. If you want to make Clint Eastwood's blood boil, compare his films about American service members to propaganda. Michael Moore did just that, and he might as well have declared war. The tension between Clint Eastwood and Moore didn't start with one comment. It had been building for years. Back in 2005, Eastwood was on stage at the National Board of Review Awards when he made a statement that stunned the room. "If Michael Moore ever shows up at my door with a camera, I'll kill him." The audience laughed nervously, assuming it was a joke. Eastwood didn't smile. He stared straight ahead and walked off stage. Industry insiders confirmed this wasn't humor. It was a warning. To understand this feud, you have to understand what Eastwood values most: discipline, service, and the quiet heroism of people who do difficult jobs without seeking attention. Moore's documentaries, especially Fahrenheit 5/11, struck Eastwood as grandstanding, using serious subjects for personal glory rather than genuine exploration. The final straw came in 2015, when Eastwood's American Sniper became a massive cultural phenomenon. Michael Moore took to Twitter and compared the film to a Nazi sniper scene from *Inglourious Basterds*, writing that snipers were cowards who shot people in the back. He later claimed it was satire, just commentary that people took too seriously. Eastwood didn't see it as a joke. To him, it was fundamental disrespect to Chris Kyle and the service members whose stories he'd tried to honor. One of Eastwood's longtime collaborators explained it to the press. "Clint doesn't forget insults. He just erases the person who delivered them." Since that Twitter controversy, Moore's name has been completely removed from Eastwood's universe. Eastwood has worked with people across the political spectrum, with liberals and conservatives alike, but he draws an absolute line on anyone who mocks the military. To him, Moore didn't just cross that line, he obliterated it. Today, if you mention Michael Moore's name in Eastwood's presence, according to those close to him, the conversation ends immediately. Not with anger, but with silence, the most permanent silence imaginable. Number 3. Barbra Streisand. There's one name from Hollywood's golden era that still makes Clint Eastwood's jaw tighten even after 9 decades in the industry: Barbra Streisand. She's the one that got under his skin so deeply that he still refuses to say her name in interviews, according to multiple industry sources. The feud began in the early 1980s when both were transitioning from acting to directing. Streisand became famous for demanding 40, 50, sometimes 60 takes to capture one expression. Every detail had to be perfect, every lighting adjustment analyzed, every performance dissected and rebuilt. Eastwood worked the opposite way: 1 or 2 takes, then move on. If it's not real the first time, it's not worth filming. To Eastwood, Streisand represented everything wrong with modern Hollywood: vanity, overthinking, and the death of spontaneity. By the early 1990s, their creative philosophies had evolved into open contempt. When The Prince of Tides failed to earn Streisand a Best Director nomination in 1992, Eastwood was reportedly overheard making a cutting remark at an industry event. Maybe if she made decisions faster, she'd finish more than 3 films in 15 years. The remark spread through Hollywood like wildfire. The rivalry became industry legend. The breaking point came over the bridges of Madison County. Streisand had been attached to direct the adaptation for years, but kept delaying, rewriting, reconsidering. Eventually, the opportunity slipped away. Eastwood swooped in, rewrote the script in weeks, and delivered a quiet, emotional masterpiece that earned Meryl Streep an Oscar nomination. It was the ultimate revenge without saying a word. Since that project, these two titans have avoided each other completely. No shared stages, no mutual projects, not even acknowledgement at industry events. For Eastwood, Streisand became the symbol of everything he despised in filmmaking: hesitation, over-excessive control, and the death of instinct. Number 3. Tommy Lee Jones. On the first day of filming In the Line of Fire in 1993, Clint Eastwood supposedly leaned over to a crew member and muttered, "2 bowls in 1 pen. This won't last." He was talking about his co-star, Tommy Lee Jones. And according to everyone on set, Eastwood was absolutely right. On paper, they seemed perfect together, 2 legendary performers known for their intensity and commitment. But behind the camera, it became a battle of wills that nearly derailed the production. Jones wasn't the type to take quiet direction. He questioned choices, rewrote dialogue, stayed in character between takes, and kept performing long after Eastwood called cut. For a director who ran his sets with calm efficiency and minimal fuss, it was like watching a tornado refuse to dissipate. He'd stay in character during lunch breaks, one crew member recalled in later interviews. Clint would just watch him like, "What exactly are you doing?" The tension reached its peak during an intense confrontation scene. Jones towered over Eastwood, fully immersed in character, spitting every line with venom. Eastwood called cut. Jones kept going, glaring directly into Eastwood's eyes, refusing to break. The entire crew froze. The silence stretched. Finally, according to multiple witnesses, Eastwood whispered something to his assistant and walked off set. The message was clear. Life's too short for that kind of theater. From that moment, the decision was permanent. When casting directors later suggested Jones for future Eastwood projects, Clint's response was always the same, according to industry insiders. "Great performer, but we don't speak the same language." Translation, never again. They've never reunited, never shared a panel discussion, never even mentioned each other in interviews. In Eastwood's world, there's only room for one alpha on set, and he's the one calling cut. Number 2, Richard Burton. Clint Eastwood doesn't lose his temper easily, but legendary British actor Richard Burton came dangerously close to making it happen. This was during the 1968 World War II film Where Eagles Stare, when Eastwood was still building his career and Burton was already an established icon. The problem wasn't ego or creative differences. It was something Eastwood found far more unforgivable: lack of professionalism. Burton showed up late, stumbled through lines, and often arrived on set clearly dealing with the effects of the previous night's drinking. Meanwhile, Eastwood was dressed and ready at dawn, watching this legend waste everyone's time with take after take of the same scene. You could see the respect draining from Clint's face, one crew member remembered in later interviews, like water running out of a glass. Burton was in the middle of his famously turbulent marriage to Elizabeth Taylor, and the drama followed him everywhere. Every night seemed to end in excess. Every morning, the entire crew paid the price. Eastwood didn't lecture or yell. He just waited, cold, silent, and increasingly disgusted. After Burton blew the same line for the 10th time, Eastwood reportedly muttered, just loud enough for nearby crew to hear, "I get paid by the picture, not by the hour." The crew laughed nervously. Burton didn't. The message landed. The final insult came when Burton was overheard calling Where Eagles There just a paycheck job. To Eastwood, that was unforgivable. He believed every project deserved complete commitment, even a commercial action film. Anything less was disrespect to everyone involved. Years later, when asked about working with Burton in a rare interview, Eastwood's response was devastating in its brevity. "Great performer, but we don't speak the same language." Translation, never again. They've never reunited, never shared a panel discussion, never even mentioned each other in interviews. In Eastwood's world, there's only room for one alpha on set, and he's the one calling cut. Number 1, Jean Seberg. Clint Eastwood doesn't talk about the 1969 musical western Paint Your Wagon anymore. And if you ask why, the answer is Jean Seberg. She wasn't just another performer in the film. According to multiple sources, she was the reason Eastwood swore he'd never again mix sympathy with professional boundaries. She was fragile, unpredictable, and dealing with serious personal issues that extended far beyond the set. She was under FBI surveillance for her political activism and support of the Black Panther Party, which added layers of pressure and paranoia to her already unstable emotional state. On set, her behavior was completely unpredictable. One day she'd charm everyone with warmth and humor. The next, she'd lock herself in her trailer for hours, refusing to come out. Eastwood, who valued focus and punctuality above almost everything, found himself trapped in a production nightmare. She'd stop mid-scene to discuss her character's motivation. Eastwood would just stare at the floor, waiting for her to finish. You could literally see him dying inside. Eastwood tried to be patient. He tried to be understanding. But patience has limits, and Seberg found every single one of them. The real betrayal came after Paint Your Wagon was released. The movie bombed critically and commercially. In interviews promoting the film, Seberg told reporters that Eastwood's wooden performance had dragged the entire production down. She publicly blamed him for the failure. To Eastwood, that was the ultimate betrayal. He'd spent months trying to hold the production together, accommodating her instability, keeping the film on track despite constant disruptions. And she repaid him by publicly attacking his performance. From that moment, she was erased from his world. He never mentioned her name again. If anyone brought her up in conversation, he'd change the subject, light a cigar, and walk away. No explanation, no discussion, just permanent silence. Years later, when news broke of Seberg's tragic death in 1979, under mysterious circumstances, Eastwood stayed silent publicly. Friends say he looked genuinely sad when he heard, but he never softened his stance. Some people aren't cut out for the work, and I don't have to deal with it twice. That's as close as he's ever come to forgiveness. So what do these 6 stories tell us about Clint Eastwood? Are these the actions of a cold, unforgiving man? Or are these the principles of someone who understood that time is finite and respect is earned? At 95, Eastwood has outlasted nearly everyone from his generation. He's still working, still directing, still creating films that matter. And he did it by being absolutely uncompromising about who earned access to his time and his trusts. The 6 people on this list share something in common. They violated the principles Eastwood holds sacred. They wasted time, disrespected the work, or betrayed trust. And in Eastwood's world, those aren't minor offenses. They're professional death sentences. His grudges aren't petty, they're protective. They're the boundaries that allowed him to build a 7-decade career without burning out, without compromising, without letting other people's chaos become his problem. Love him or hate him, Eastwood's code has worked. At 95, he's still standing, still creating, still commanding respect. The 6 people who made this list learned a hard lesson. Eastwood's silence isn't weakness. It's the most powerful response in Hollywood. Remember, these stories come from industry insiders, crew members, and decades of Hollywood reporting. They represent the collective understanding of Eastwood's professional relationships rather than his own direct statements. So what do you think? Was Clint Eastwood right to cut these people out of his professional life? Or did his silence go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know who you think deserved the Eastwood treatment and who might have earned a second chance.